Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to find out what multi-class racing will look like in Monoposto 2025. Of course I did this last year and I thought, you know what, let me make an updated version. So we've got 6 hypercars on the grid and then we've got 5 GT3s. Now don't mind the name GTD, there is a reason why I've named them GTD for now, but we have some of my favourite cars, the Ferrari 499P, which has saved many Ferrari fans, and the Ford Mustang GTD. That thing is a monster. So, without further ado, what does WEC look like in Monoposto? Well, I tried to drive the Ford Mustang, and I made it as rubbish as possible. 0 driving assist or anything. Absolutely none of that. 1 driver engine power. Just the worst car you could possibly make. And I was about to be on for, I think, a 2-minute 3 in Belgium, which is still a little bit too quick. But what can I do about that? Anyway, considering the fact that it is the weekend of the 6 hours of COTA, why don't we find out who will win the Grand Prix? And of course, due to it being endurance, it will be a 100% race. Here is the grid, as now, what will feel like 6 hours of COTA, sponsored by Formula Legends, is underway. Kobayashi leads the whole hypercar grid through turn 1, while the GTD class have gotten underway themselves. Lap 2 of this race around COTA, and Kobayashi has established an early lead. Meanwhile, the 2 Ferraris of Kubica and Giovinazzi were going wheel to wheel, and that wasn't the only fight that was happening, as the LMGT3 class were having a great ding-dong for P6 in class and P18 overall. But we move on, and now we're going to find out what will the hypercars lapping look like. So Kobayashi has caught up to Scopera in the BMW LMGT3, and now the multi-class action begins. These hypercars have a lot of work to do to get past those 10 LMGT3s. And we're noticing very quickly that these hypercars are not willing to ruin their races, taking unnecessary risks, as we are now seeing the first pit stop of the Grand Prix from the Toyota of Nick De Vries, looking to avoid the traffic. However, that plan completely failed, as he will still have a lot of lapping to do. But it feels like we're missing something. Who am I forgetting? The Aston Martin Valkyrie, a car that is very new to the WEC roster and is just sitting at the back in P11 and P12, minding their own business, not yet reaching the LMGT3s. Meanwhile, further at the front, a certain Toyota driver is making waves in this Grand Prix. He's setting purple sector after purple sector, hunting down his teammate Kamui Kobayashi, and he can do nothing to defend the lead. Nick De Vries, on new tyres, will take the lead of the what will feel like 6 hours of COTA, powered by Formula Legends. Meanwhile, in the LMGT3 class, Lacian still leads, but wait. A few laps ago, Lacian in the BMW GT3 decided to jump into the pit lane from the lead and put on a fresh set of tyres, and he came out of the pit lane and managed to witness Nick De Vries making progress. Inspired by said progress, he managed to get himself all the way back into the lead, and the tyre advantage was so grand he was actually attacking the hypercars in front of him, and that is when some of the other teams at the front of the field decided enough was enough. They need new tyres. They need to catch up to Nick De Vries, who was all alone out in front. At the front of the LMGT3 class, order has been restored as the hypercars are getting to work, getting past the lead GT3 runner. Meanwhile, myself is getting overtaken by Nosenge in the Ford Mustang GTD as I am on older tyres, and you can just see the tyre advantage is such a big deal, as now there is a big problem for the LMGT3 field. The Aston Martin Valkyrie of Gamble has not pitted and is holding up a bit of a train in the GT3 class, meaning it is a lifeline for myself. The main problem for these GT3s is that they can't actually overtake the hypercar, because every time they do, they receive a blue flag and they have to let Gamble straight back through, and it's really losing them valuable time to race leader Lacian, who must be loving hearing that information right now. He will have a very secure lead at the moment. And Nick De Vries has caught up to that huge LMGT3 train. He's lost about 3 seconds on this lap, and it just seems so difficult for these hypercars to get past. Gamble is making a mare of this Grand Prix in the Aston Martin Valkyrie. And those Toyotas were not the only cars that would struggle to get through that big train, as the other hypercars are now catching up and are making contact with some of the GT3s, meaning they're getting themselves 5-second time penalties, which could be avoided if Gamble just goes into the pit lane. It is starting to become a huge mess of a situation, as look at that, Kubica makes contact there with, I believe that was Grobe in the McLaren GT3, as finally, on lap 30, 3 hours into this race, Gamble decides to go into the pit lane for new tyres. But if these fans here in Austin, Texas hadn't seen enough by now, they were about to see more, as Kamui Kobayashi took advantage and is now going to attack his teammate, Nick De Vries. De Vries will cover it off. He does not want to lose the lead. He had a 20-second lead at one point, but now Kobayashi, with blistering pace, will get ahead of his teammate. But that isn't quite battle over, as Nick De Vries was going everywhere that Kobayashi was going. He did not want to lose out, and he was going to try everything to cling on to the lead, which means this Toyota infighting gave a great opportunity to the other hypercars, as they've now caught up to Nick De Vries. Antonio Fuoco is leading the charge against the Toyota. You can see the Toyota pit wall panicking now, because they did not expect the other hypercars to get involved in this race. They thought they nailed the strategy, but the hard tyres are proving to be a very, very good tyre for race pace. And now, Toyota are going to have to cook up something good if they want to keep hold of the lead. So while De Vries went into the pit lane, Kamui Kobayashi did everything in his power to hold up the other hypercars and stop them from getting ahead. Brilliant defending from the Japanese driver. Meanwhile, for the LMGT3 class, things were starting to go wrong for Lacian. He's now lost the lead after that mega undercut, and Dan Andre takes the lead. Another team that are not having a good day is Cadillac, as they tried a mega overcut on everybody, but they've just ended up a long, long way off the lead. Meanwhile, big shout out to the Iron Dames driver, who is a woman, Hecka, who has gone 33 laps on that one set of tyres. I believe his race has gone so badly, he just wants to find out how far these tyres can go. Meanwhile, De Vries is now catching up to Kobayashi, who's doing a wonderful job holding up the field. Things have gone from bad to worse for Lacian. He's now on the verge of getting overtaken by his teammate, and he was once leading this race, and now it is Dan Andre versus Sparks YT15. In the hypercar class, Toyota have pulled off another undercut. Nick De Vries will take the lead of what will feel like 6 hours of COTA, while Kobayashi will take P2, and it's now a one-on-one fight between the two Toyotas once again. We are seeing two fights for the lead happen at the same time. De Vries keeps hold of the lead. Meanwhile, Sparks YT15 will take the lead in the LMGT3 class. At this point in the race, things are really beginning to calm down as Hecker finally goes into the pit lane after 39 laps on those tyres. But somebody is back from the dead. Lacian, who pitted about 7 laps ago, is making his way through the field again, and his chances of winning are still sky high. Sparks YT15 can do nothing to defend. Lacian, on the main straight, will go for the move on the inside line, and he will take the lead of what will feel like 6 hours of COTA in the LMGT3 class. And Jenson Button has retired the race. Meanwhile, a lot of late pit stops are happening, including one from 12, who made a brilliant double overtake on his charge for the podium. Toyota have causes to worry, as now Antonio Giovinazzi is making a late charge for the victory. Can he get within 5 seconds? He can't, so Kobayashi wins what will feel like 6 hours of COTA ahead of Giovinazzi and De Vries. Meanwhile, in the LMGT3 class, Lacian will take a brilliant victory in COTA. 12 will come home for P2 in the Mercedes. Meanwhile, look at that, Dan Andre is going for a late overtake on the final lap to get ahead of Sparks YT15 to move himself up into P3. McLaren will claim the final place on the podium. Sparks will have to deal with P4, and look how close it was in the end in LMGT3. So there we have it, the podium for the hypercar class. Kobayashi takes the win ahead of Giovinazzi, who fought valiantly against the BOP, and Nick De Vries in P3. What a race. Absolute joy to watch that for the entirety of the Grand Prix. And I am considering a mini-series out of this. So let me know what you think of that idea. But be sure to like and subscribe for more content. And I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.